Hi. Amber got a question. It's in mirror writing. I'm going to hold it up so you can read it backwards. I know, that's the joke. Okay. Look, can you read that?
They can't read it. Read it to them.
This says, how to make friends in your 30s.
Brandy. Yay!
Brandy, I have no idea.
He didn't make any friends.
Why
in
is
his
it?
30s.
Well, here's the thing about the question. I guess I disagree with the question, Brandy.
What?
Because no, listen, the question is strange. I know you wrote it down, but the question is so the question sort of assumes that you were able to make friends in your 20s or your teens or your whatever they call beneath the teens. Like is there a certain technique to making friends in your 20s that no longer applies in your 30s?
I think that the thing about being in your 30s is that when you're in your teens and in your 20s, you're conceivably in high school or in college when you are introduced to a large new group of peers every year, every semester. And then when you get into your 30s, you're like in a job that you've been in for a few years. Okay. Or it's not like you're like me and you work from home and you like never see another human unless you're ordering coffee from them.
Like you suffered some brain damage in your 30s, something like that.
No, I don't think
like there's some sort of chemical switch.
No.
Like you suddenly you're okay. No. All right. How do you make friends in your 30s? I talked to a guy with an accent, and because he had an accent, I figured he knew what he was talking about. I don't know why that.
That is a weird prejudice, but sure.
But no, we have that in America. That if the person has an accent, they're intelligent. Depending on the accent.
Okay.
I don't mean to be racist, but I'm saying like there's a certain I was watching that movie Love Actually last night, and the guy that Colin, God of Sex. I am Colin, God of Sex. Everyone thought he was great because he
had the British accent.
He had the British accent.
America.
And in America, right? Sure. And if you ever go to London, or if you ever go to Britain, you don't get anything for having an American accent.
No, that buys you nothing.
It buys you. In fact, sometimes they don't even let you in.
Yeah. In fact. Fun fact, Brandy is from Canada, and sometimes Americans like to pretend they are also from
Brandy.
Canada. We shouldn't do that.
Is from Canada.
It's terrible. Yes, she's great.
So I was going somewhere with this.
I don't know where you were going.
I was going to say that, why don't you talk for a second?
Okay, I will talk for a second. So I think making friends in your 30s is interesting, and it's different than making friends in your 20s, because I feel like by the time you're in your 30s, you have a better sense of who you are. In your 20s, you kind of make friends, maybe because it's more circumstantial. And I think in your 30s, you begin to choose friends based on who you are and what your values are and, what you want out of your life. Like we start having maybe less time in our 30s because we have kids or we have, jobs we're very devoted to, or we have a lot of cats and we're knitting sweaters for them. I'm just projecting here. And so you really have to look at what you want out of friendships. And then and this isn't really answering her question. I mean, I think it's actually similar to the last subject we were talking about in terms of building self-confidence, because really, building self-confidence often comes from just getting out and talking to people, and so does making friends. And I personally hate that answer because I do not like going out and talking to people, especially like strange people. I like going out and talking to the friends I already have.
I like walking.
Which doesn't. I know you do.
I'm a strange person.
You are a strange. Well, I am also a strange person.
I'm also a marriage family therapist. I should probably mention that, right?
Okay.
Should I mention that?
I guess. Sure.
Mentioning?
People might
not like that.
I don't know if people like that.
I don't know.
How do you feel about that?
Do you like the fact that I'm a therapist?
Do you like us?
Look at the gap in my teeth. It really shows up.
It is a little bit of a gap in your teeth. But
anyway, so I remember what I was going to say about the guy with the accent.
Okay.
And he had an accent, so I figured he knew what he was talking about. But he did say, I said, well, how do you make friends? It's also could be how do you date? How do you meet women and stuff? He said, oh, I can't do an Australian accent. He said he just goes and takes a cooking class. What? You take a cooking class? What do you don't know how to cook? He's like, yeah, I know, but I take a cooking class. That's why I take a cooking class, but really to meet women. And the thing is that when you're in your 30s, you've got to be more deliberate about meeting people. Mm-hmm. Because in your 20s and your teens, it just kind of everyone is trying to meet people. That's it's sort of wired.
Everybody's looking for friends, husbands,
basically everybody wants to have sex. I mean, they still want to have sex in their 30s, but in their 20s, they really, really want to have sex. So in your 30s, you have to be more deliberate. For instance, I'm going to go probably take this improv class in San Francisco because I think it would be fun, and also it would be because you're forced to speak to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was taking swing dancing lessons for a while. I'll probably get back into it, but I'm not really sure. People dance, but it's so formal that you don't actually get to talk to anybody really. Not really. It's sort of weird. But so I would be more. My advice is to be more deliberate about how you meet people and plan it out the way you'd plan out, cleaning your house. Or it's just not as sexy as it used to be. It's not as spontaneous. It's boring. It's like, okay, now I have to go do the thing so I can do the thing so I can meet the person. so that I can do the thing. It's just it's clunky.
Well, also, I mean, I think another way to look at it as well is to just, and this is going to sound a little hippie, sorry about that, is to open yourself up to the idea of finding friends. Because I don't really like that phrase either. Well, yeah, and that's, again, it's, but I mean, I think it's about, like, it's basically just about making the choice, you know, because for me, I recognize that sometimes I'm just walking around and I'm like in my little bubble, you know, I'm listening to music as I'm walking down the street, or I'm in a coffee shop and I have no interest in talking to anybody else because I'm just very much in my thing, whatever my thing is at that moment. And that is sort of me, you know, maybe there was a friend in there that I could have met had I been a little bit more,
less
trying
of
to think of another word than open.
Or just, you can say, oh, I was less of an asshole.
Sure.
Like sometimes when I go
yeah,
out in public,
I tend to be an asshole.
I'm an
in public.
asshole. Like,
yeah.
it's all right.
I just don't want to deal with people.
I don't
like,
mean
ever.
to be an asshole, but it just it just comes out of me naturally.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of naturally
my
an
inner
asshole
asshole is on the outside.
Yeah, yeah. We wear it like a sweater.
I wear it like an asshole.
Yeah, so that's the key to making friends in your 30s. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
But Brandy's not an asshole, so that doesn't.
Brandy, you're not an asshole,
She's
are you?
not an asshole.
You're not. Oh,
no, she's
Brandy.
Like the nicest person in the world.
Name?
It's a girl, yeah.
I thought Brandy was a boy's name. No, it can be a boy's name. I knew a guy named Brandy.
Oh,
he was
fair.
He was a boy for sure.
You checked?
Huh?
You checked?
No, I didn't check, but he.
I was just wondering how sure you were.
This is an awkward moment.
I like fostering those.
I don't know how to respond to that. I'm sure.
Do we feel like we've answered her question? I don't know.
Well, we've given her some solid tips.
Okay, that's fair.
How do you make friends in your 30s? And the other thing is, I think a lot of people have holdovers from their 20s, and it's like, Brandy, did you lose all your friends? Like, what happened? Did they all abandon you? Like, what did your friends run from the hills? And if they did run for the hills, why did they run for the hills? What was wrong with you? Did you switch coasts? Maybe.
See, this is where I think our personalities start to diverge, because as you say these things, like, I feel myself cringing, like, oh, I don't know.
What?
I don't know. It's like implying that there's something wrong with someone.
There's nothing wrong with her. I'm just asking. I was kind of making light of the situation. Like, I'm curious as to what it is that is going on in her life, that what happened to her friends in her 20s. Like, like that's interesting to me. I don't mean to. I was kind of making a joke about it. I was being a little dishonest, but that's you know. But what I mean to say is I'm curious to know, like, what happened between your 20s and your 30s, that things.
Well, I think I can answer that from my perspective. In some ways, I actually have friends who are a lot younger than I am at this point, because a lot of people who are my age are married with kids, and, you know, I still love them. We still see each other occasionally, but our lives are very different.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of naturally had to find friends who would be more open to, like, going on adventures on the weekends and, like, texting me all the time, you know, in a way that you can't when your life has changed. So I think lives begin to change very rapidly in your 30s. And so if you have a friend who, you know, your paths might be diverging a bit, and so you need to find people on your particular path.
I have one way to make friends in your 30s, and it's not dating.
She has a boyfriend. That doesn't help her.
No,
but for everybody else, that has actually.
No, but
most of my friends came from dating. At this point, like, I have a lot of guy friends.
Yeah, it's like you become a friend collector, because the person doesn't really want to reject you because they want to be nice, and so they say, let's just be friends, and you can say, okay. I mean, I stopped doing that because I have enough friends.
Well, yeah. Well, and the thing, like, I wouldn't do that with people I didn't care about, but, like, the people I genuinely was like, you are great. I don't want to date you.
When you start dating, it's like you become a friend collector. They just start to pile up.
Yep. They do. It's great. It's great.
It's not great.
It is great.
No, it's not.
Well, I enjoy it.
It's not. Oh, okay. I don't enjoy it.
Okay. Well,
I'd rather actually date the person that I wanted to date, not be their friend.
Well, I guess that's the thing.
You know what I'm saying? Like.
Yes. Because if it's someone you really like and you really wanted to date them, then maybe being friends is not a good idea, because then it gets hard.
Well, the thing about. We're on a different subject, but I don't mind. But the point is that, like, you become friends with a person, and then you're still the reason you remain friends is because you really just you want to not be friends, and so you wait around hoping. Yeah, I know it sucks. So don't do that. I don't do it. I stopped doing it.
Good for you. High five.
You know, it's when I stopped eating carbs, I stopped doing that too. So, like, I made all these really good changes, like no more pancakes and no more friends.
That sounds like a really sad life. No pancakes and no friends.
Well, I had a waffle this morning.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, it was good. I think we can stop.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. How does it stop? Wait.